Hello and welcome to the Green Island Podcast. I'm Bernard Sheehan, joined as always by James Sheehan. We are the co-authors of Hard Border, part of the Green Island series of novels. Working on the second one, but the first one I think hit a lot of the points that we're living through, Jay. And it's almost kind of like we kind of can't keep up because everything that was we were talking about back then, we're living through it now. So it just continues to pile up and everything continues to go faster and faster with this dystopia that we're in.
100%. It's like we're almost like Nostradamus, but I mean, it's just the fact that we lived through it in kind of their petri dish, and now they're rolling it out to the rest of the world as and it's amazing. It's kind of crazy how, but Ireland's completely taken over now, and all the people are slaves, and they're just lost their religion, and they're pretty crazy now. So you can't trust any of them for the most part. But yeah, it's book two is going to be interesting too, focusing more on America. But yeah, the writing's on the wall. So pick up Hard Boarding, you'll definitely see that this has been planned and it's not just a one-off occurrence that's happening throughout the world. That they did it in Ireland, in a small country, happened to be an island, English speaking, and they rolled it out pretty quick. And we have to flee like the telegram guy, out of France.
Exactly. So, and this is the thing too that we had somebody on X there the other day, and you can see property rights just being trampled on, and the guards just kind of coming to people's houses and like, oh, we're just doing our jobs type of mentality, and like we commented on there that there's no property rights in Ireland, and some idiot was just like, oh yes, it's in the Constitution, blah blah blah. I'm like, are you a moron? Just because it's written down doesn't mean that they're adhering to it. They're trampling rights left and right over there right now, and they don't give an F. They are happy to do it. They are happy to seize your property. And again, we lived through it. We know it's not. It's not something that's theoretical. It's just like, oh yeah, here it is in the Constitution. We're going to follow it. No, they don't. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about, your rights. There's no freedom of speech there. I know there's that people are still trying to protest against a lot of the things that are going on, but freedom to assemble is getting more and more tramped down. And as you mentioned, the telegram guy going over to France and getting arrested, that's exactly one of the reasons that we're not in Ireland anymore. And anybody that we know or related to be like, I don't know why you're here, because this place is, just a dystopia. It's basically, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a prison. It's Alcatraz that has grass instead of stone.
100%. It really is a prison, and you can't escape. And or you escape, but you escape with nothing. And there is that Constitution comment was absolutely spot on, because the property rights have been infringed all the way since 2008.
Mm-hmm.
My theory is they leveraged up a lot of people's properties without their knowledge to kind of and so like you have kind of a database called the folio numbers in Ireland that kind of have, if there's any liens on certain your property, you can look. That's all been like tampered with, and there's even lawsuits. It's all corrupted. It was corrupted with us on our hospitals. There was charges on it we didn't know, but then they wouldn't put them up on the folio number, but they were in, they saw. And this is how they do it. Like, so the Constitution is just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
The people make the Constitution and how to act on it. And Ireland, they're just not acting on it. And it's and that's where it is. But now it's being rolled out where like and that's what we're afraid of. I think the French guy, the telegram guy, who just pretty much is being arrested because he won't let NATO have a backdoor into a system, which kind of says, okay, well then what the hell's going on with WhatsApp and what's going on with like Signal? I mean, do they have backdoors already, and that's why their
Yes.
guys aren't being arrested?
Yes, they do. That they've been broken. I've seen interviews with other kind of deep state guys who are out now, and they're just like, yeah, we've had backdoors into those forever.
Yeah,
So,
if
so
it's not already set up by the, see, that's crazy,
yeah.
because everybody's kind of like going there not to have your government know your. I mean, at least you should have a right to privacy, and it's just like, no, we want to know everything.
Nope. Nope.
let alone is the NSA kind of tapping our phones, it's just crazy stuff,
Yeah, they are for
but
sure. They are for sure. That's the thing is
so
that,
this guy, I think French arrested him. He didn't even know, but because he's a French citizen, like we're Irish citizens, we have dual citizenship. I guess they had the right to arrest him, regardless. It wasn't like he was a foreigner that they extradited. But again, that's even being called out now by the guy we had like 2 episodes ago. The guy in England, the commissioners, like we're going to extradite Elon Musk for saying stuff that he said in America that's under American law that you're allowed to say. Unfortunately, it gets this, or fortunately, get dismembered, or should we say, perpetrated throughout the world. But you can't arrest someone for saying something out. But it just shows it's just gone absolutely crazy because they have to stifle people's speech now. Because people are copying on now that this is the world's becoming a dystopian,
yeah,
which
it
is getting
is.
scary.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing because they can't allow people to speak the truth. And again, this kind of goes back to what you called earlier this year that, hey, this is the most elections in a given year that's ever going to happen or ever has happened. And they need to do everything they can to clamp down on you being able to make those choices. I mean, let's be honest, we talked about it. They've already tried to kill Trump, and that was just the other week, and that's already been memory hold where it's just like, oh, you can't really talk about that, or did that even really happen, or was it your lying eyes, type of thing. And that would have been, if you can imagine them doing that to Kamala or any other politician, it would be like nonstop. They would be asking nonstop who tried to kill you, or what's going on there. Because they bring up stuff with Trump that he had nothing to do with, and he still gets asked about it every time, from years ago. But that's what they're doing now is that it's all, it's up for grabs, and they're desperate. They're desperate is really what it comes down to. And Elon Musk that was not foreseen. They were going to run, at least here in the States, run the exact same playbook that they did in 2000. And now they really can't do that because they don't have control of Twitter the way they did, or X. I'm sorry, I dead named it. But they don't have control of that, and they also don't have control of him. He's a billionaire many times the size of other billionaires that are out there, funding campaigns and doing nefarious deeds, etc. And he's on the other side, putting a stop to that. And this was another billionaire that you were talking about in France, French citizen. So the story I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but that he was invited there by the president of France to say, "Hey, come over, and while you're in country, let's go for lunch." And then as soon as his plane landed, the cops were there to arrest him. So it's like, okay, so this is how it's being played now, right? That you're kind of going there, you're being lured in, and now what it's crazy. What can you do? In that situation, you need to hunker down and just expect that you're going to be arrested anywhere you go. And already Elon, they're saying like, hey, they should be doing the same thing to him. Like you said, the British head superintendent or whatever that guy was the other week. But now we've got people in America just like, yeah, Elon should be arrested and just thrown in jail, and he should be careful if he goes over to Europe because that's what they're going to do to him. They just shut down Twitter in Brazil because you've got some rogue judge who's running crazy, and Elon's like, fine, I'll just pull out of here, but this is not a democracy if that's what you're doing.
And of course, then because they can't, they cheat all the time. Okay, fine, close Twitter, and none of your politicians can talk to one another, and you can't. It's like the main form of communication in Brazil. But because the judge is pretty much a socialist communist dressed up as a change from Trump type character, this is all they do. Like, oh, it's going to be a change. Trump is so bad, but yet they start adopting their policies until they get elected, and then it's full on like communism. And it's like, okay, well, we're not going to go after Twitter, then we're going to go after Starlink, which is a separate company with separate shareholders that has nothing to do with it, that didn't violate. And they're just like, we'll just shut it down. And Elon Musk, and they did, or they shut down at least the paying part where no one can pay for Starlink. And Elon Musk like, okay, well, this is just free for Brazil until we get this sorted. And they're like, okay, so then the judge tried to come back. Is like, no, we want to shut down all the satellites until their equivalent to their defense department says, we can't do that because all our stuff runs off Starlink. That we can't shut down Starlink for Brazil because then it shuts down all our defenses. And if I was Elon Musk, I would say, you put Twitter back up or we're shutting down your defense department stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Like you got to play the game, and he's probably having that discussion right now. But these are rogue judges put in by Kamala type, communist presidents to kind of just do their own, and that's why you have to flee the country. That's why we fled Ireland. And again, we mentioned in the last episode, our poor brother died there. But I didn't go to a funeral because I was afraid of being arrested. Like the people who went, we fully did a full analysis on whether they could be arrested or not.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, well, since I was more or less a taxpayer there and a citizen, even though I almost renounced my citizenship at this point, they could still come back and says, well, you didn't pay taxes in 2022. You owe this amount, or 21 or 20. When did I leave? I left in 20, but you didn't pay taxes in 19. We're going to come and we're going to arrest you. And then they own the narrative.
Right.
It's all about the narrative for them. And it's pretty, so I was just like, hell no, I'm sorry. Like, I just can't go. And I told my brother that long before he died, and he was fully sympathetic. He's like, if we're, I want to come to America anyways, we'll go party in Texas and Florida and stuff like that. But unfortunately, he never made it. But, you just I can't go to Ireland. Then you look like the biggest asshole for not going to your brother's funeral to any kind of layperson on the street, but they just don't have a clue because they're Normas that are watching sports every night and just going to their 9 to 5 and don't really understand politics except that Trump's a bad guy,
Right.
and that's it.
Right.
It's crazy. And so, yeah, it's the world's gone freaking mad, but it's only going to get worse. And as you said, desperate is the key word there, because I honestly, mark my words, they're not going to let Trump in. They'll either try to kill him. If they can't rig the election, they're going to start a war just to stop the election or stop him from taking office or do something or invoke like, oh, he's an insurrectionist after he's elected, so we can't certify. There's a whole bunch. These people have gone, they've gone to the far side now, and it really does reflect that they always say, from my understanding, end times, right before end times is the time of deception. And man, we are in deception where white is not black and black is not white, and Kamala Harris is now likes fracking and close the border and all this crap that she's freely been doing. It's and she's worse than Joe Biden. So it's really the age of deception. And just one more comment is Germany just elected like their regional areas, just elected like all right-wing people. So the writing's on the wall. They just had an election, I think, this weekend.
Right.
And as the powers that control the world, they're looking at it as like everything's shifting to the right. If we're going to start a World War III, we better start it tomorrow.
Well, this is the thing too. They're just like, all those reports are like, it's a far right wing German government. I don't think there is such a thing as a far right wing German government or even right wing German government. It's there's central, and then there's left, and then there's far left, and then there's leftists. But there's nothing that's right wing. It's just like that's people saying we're not going to be left wing anymore. This is exactly the thing too. You go back in German history, it was the communists and the fascists. They're both left wing freaking nut jobs, and they fought each other. The fascists won in Germany, but then the communists won in Russia, and they did the same thing in Spain. So this is the thing. It's all left wing over there. There's no right wing, much less far right wing stuff. And you talk about Trump, they'll try to kill him. They already did try, and they're definitely going to try again. They've already tried. And even if he's in jail when he's elected, what are you going to do? He's that's in next couple of weeks where they're going to sentence him. Good luck. Throw him in jail. It'll just guarantee that he's going to win. I mean, this is this is America. It's not Kamala Harris is their plan is already falling apart because they can't run the same thing that they've done. They've they've already lost Biden. He's out, and that wasn't part of the plan. So their plans are falling to bits. But I don't know if you saw the former PM Leo was over at the DNC in Chicago getting his marching orders, or relaying back to who his paymasters are, and so it is like a global cabal.
It's a 100% global cabal from what and it's all connected, and like who runs America's Hillary's Ireland's kind of keeper for America. So anything that wants to be done between Ireland and America has to go through Bill and Hillary for the most part.
Hey,
It's still to
they
this
did
day.
they did a great job in Haiti, so you might as well keep them in, might as well adopt them. They only turned that place into a dystopia so bad that people are eating each other. I mean, it's just they're parasites. I don't often, but there's times I just think like, gosh, it would have just been so much better for the world if the Dems had just thrown Bill Clinton overboard and put Al Gore in as president. He would have been president during 9/11. Maybe we didn't have the Iraq war. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff would have just gone completely differently if they had just recognized Bill and Hillary for the freaking monsters that they are and jettisoned them when they had the chance. But nope, they didn't. So here we are, you know,
Of
going
course.
willy
And who
nilly.
got a lot of contracts in Haiti? But these Irish guys. And who's
Yeah.
the head of like in PR firms. And then, of course, they're doing the same with Ukraine. Their global initiative is back up and running, and they're getting all these plum rebuilding things. They have no idea what to rebuild, but same old stuff. It's the exact same, but I mean, it's censorship and like everything's falling apart because no one trust Hollywood, let alone even likes the actors anymore. You show Oprah Winfrey and everybody's like, that girl's a scumbag. And that's even like my wife, who was an Oprah supporter, like she's like, oh my god, she's just horrible now. And because the writing's on the wall, you can only put so many celebrities, but everybody knows now the celebrities are scumbags, and will say anything. And I think it was even like Ben Stiller, this piece of crap actor who hasn't done anything forever and is like a midget, is saying, oh, well, we just, Kamala's so great because we're going to have change and change and change. And he doesn't have any idea what he's talking about.
Right.
Like these people live in a bubble. It's kind of shocking that Kamala Harris, whose full-time job is to know these policies, cannot do an hour interview on policies. She has to have a babysitter, a white guy, and she can't do more than 18 minutes. And during those 18 minutes, she was absolute rubbish and didn't even know the policies. I mean, what do you do all day? This is your job. It's absolutely nuts that you can't even defend your position. I mean, at least Joe Biden could defend his position being 80% senile. This girl is 100%, well, who knows what she is? She's
She's
probably,
drunk. People say,
yeah, drunk or stoned or who knows, but like, you can't even put it together. Are you that dumb?
yeah,
Like, she must, I mean, that's a DEI hire like the worst. And now they're trying to get out of the debate because Trump will just clean her clock because she's so used to word salad rubbish that they just can't get their shit together. It's actually quite awesome, but it's actually quite scary because these guys never ever go on defense. It's always offense, which is something that everybody should take from this. Never go on defense, always be going on offense now, play their game against them, and they don't know what to do because
well,
so.
it's not only scary that she could become president, is that she might be president for right now, for all we know. I mean, is Biden really running things? Because he's at the beach and he hasn't been doing squat in, a month at least. So it's just like, who's really running things? Is it her? Is it somebody else? I mean, what is going on? And it's just craziness. And obviously that's America. I mean, when we're talking about like Ireland and stuff, they don't even pretend, the niceties anymore. They're just like a full on totalitarian state, it seems to me, where they're just, they're just going to put the boot down on anybody. And these protesters, I mean, we've seen it before. They're working on, a couple more of these quote unquote refugee camps, which they're not refugees. They're illegal aliens, but, they're coming in and just taking over because they can. But everything is just, they're just lighting a match and setting them up. And like we've talked about, what eventually somebody's going to get hurt or killed, and it's just the place is just up for grabs.
Well, Bern, I was talking to a guy from Australia the other day, like an old guy, and he's like, "You don't understand. Like, you think Australia's liberal?" He's like, "No, they're all switching over because they're all being squeezed and they can't afford into the cities. Like, you still have the problem with the millennials that are gradually coming around, but he's like the younger generation. But he's like anybody over 50, they're ready. Like, one more thing, and this thing's going to crack."
Yeah.
He's like, it's like they've just gone, they're going way, way too far where people are just cracking now
Yep.
and it's going to start getting momentum. And it's like they're not stopping because all they see is a win. Like win. It's like they started it now, and I don't think they can stop it. even if Kamala Harris doesn't get in. But like, yeah, she's just a puppet. Like, she's not running it. She's not going to run it when she gets elected. She's just a figurehead like Joe Biden and all those people in there. And Obama's a figurehead.
Right.
Don't no, Obama's running the White House. Obama wasn't running the White House when he was in charge. Maybe Bill Clinton was maybe the last Democratic president that actually ran the White House, but the rest of them are just frontmen, and take their orders, and you get to live the nice life, and you'll get a nice pension afterwards and 60, $100 million, and do what you're freaking told and sell down the country and sell down everybody, and you'll win the day. And that's it. It's just like there's just selfish SOBs at the end of the day, but they don't care, you know?
Well, this is the thing with communists. At the end of the day, it's all about money, and you see that with Pope Francis. All he cares about is money. He's like the biggest communist, again, kind of out of that Argentinian, mindset of this is, kind of how you get things done is you appeal to both sides, and ultimately you're just going down this socialist left-wing path. And he's a quote-unquote conservative when he came in, but it's all about money to them. That's all they focus on, and that's all they care about is who's getting the money and make sure that they get it. We've talked about it before. Ukraine is nothing but just like a big slush fund. You talk about the rebuilding, but they're getting it both ways because they're selling the weapons too. And it's like World War II or World War One, where you've got people selling the weapons on both sides, and either way, they're gonna win. And we're seeing it here, and that's the U.S. now. It's really, I gotta be honest with you, it really affects me because at least my whole life, I'd always been like, the U.S. would never do something like that. I mean, if you read some of these stories, and people saying, oh, the CIA brought, crack cocaine into LA. I'm like, that is a load of crap. There's no freaking way. Now it's like, yeah, I believe it. I can see it happening because there's no guardrails. There's nothing that they won't do. And it just really, ultimately as an American, it really does bother me more. With Ireland, I believe it because they're nothing but backstabbers and ultimately looking for any way that they can to screw over their neighbors and the people that their own people, whether to the English or now to Europe or to anybody, because that's what they do. Those who are in power, but I just didn't really think the U.S. was quite that way. I always thought like, oh, CIA taking out JFK was kind of bullshit, but I believe it. I can see it now because there's nothing that they won't do. Anyway.
Correct, 100%. And you can't even look that, oh, there's a political divide. Maybe the Republicans are getting more conservative, but George W. Bush is neck deep in all those, and his dad and everything like that. It was a uniparty. We were just being deceived. But here's why they got censored, because everybody, the gloves are off. You can't do any more that you've already done in the past over the last 200 or 300 years. People know about it, but we just didn't think you would do it. But now you're doing it again. And we can see it, so now we'll prepare, and then they got to censor you. But I think the censorship isn't working, and now it's going to be like, we better pull out a war or something like that to get this going, to
Or
kind of stop everything.
or throw people in jail. I mean, they did that with the January 6th protesters. They were throwing old ladies in jail for marching around the Capitol. But you also see it now in Ireland too, and in the UK, right? Over in Britain, if somebody waves like a Union Jack, that guy's getting 8 months or something ridiculous for being, if not, racist, but definitely, he's making people uncomfortable with that. So let's throw him in jail. And that's what they're doing more and more, is just throwing people in jail. You saw the same thing. There's a guy in Ireland, Enoch Burke. He was in jail because he wasn't going along with the woke agenda. He's out, and they're going to throw him back in again now too, because he's not going to put up with it. So I think, the more these things I think it's just really continuing to rev up. I thought that, maybe that the government would kind of cop on after them all losing that referendum, but it hasn't changed them one bit.
And Bern, from my understanding, I mean, Ireland is 99% liberal communist because they're just sheep. Maybe, let's say 90%. You have the 10% or maybe a little bit more of old kind of guy conservative. But the problem we always had in Ireland, every time we got fucked, it was an insider who fucked us.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of am quoting Jesse Kelly, and a talk show host or podcaster here in America. He's like, you got to fire every single liberal and Democrat in your sphere.
Yep.
He's like, if you employ them, you got to fire them. It's the best advice. I'm sorry, but it's not discrimination, because they will sabotage you. They are an insider and they are fanatical.
Yeah.
Now they're on and it's like, you just got to get rid of them. You can't work with them. And the more you kind of start doing that and doing a tit for tat, they bring lawfare against you. You go lawfare against them. Even if you can't afford a lawyer, you do it yourself. You keep on going at them, because they have limited resources as well. And they're not smart, because they're just taking the hive mind kind of directions.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So you like we do, but it's really, you got to get away from them. But from my understanding, they're kind of in America. The liberals are kind of doing the old Trump thing, where it's like, are you voting for Trump? I don't want to tell you. Well, now it's like, are you voting for Kamala? Don't even bring it up. You know, where they would be the first at the Thanksgiving dinner table to start talking politics, and apparently they've kind of got silent. Maybe that's a good sign, but I mean, it's just the powers that be need the liberals, need this way. And if it's starting to go the other way, like Germany, Trump, I don't see any other way but start a global war.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they've got that teed up already. So let's
Yep.
we'll continue to talk about it. Jay, appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on, folks out there. Thank you for listening. Really, please like and subscribe. We definitely want to continue to grow here and really start to get larger. Also, follow us on X. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks
And
so much,
Rumble.
Jay.
Rumble doesn't look like it censors us.
Yes.
I think YouTube is censoring us.
Thank you.
To be honest with you.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.